So that, you're like, you run, Pastor. I'm not in this with you, okay? So it is March the 27th. So let's say this race is going to be May the 15th. You've got a few weeks. So Chris, I'm in there with you, buddy. And just to get ready for that, I'm going to save all my energy. I'm going to walk as little as possible. I'm not going to exercise. If I can do my job laying in the bed till then, that's what I'm going to do. Because when that day comes, I'm going to be ready. I'm saving every ounce of energy in my body. What's going to happen? What's going to happen when I get to race day?
You're not going to do nothing.
I'm sorry?
You're going to go like 10 feet.
I'm not even going to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Who knows what atrophy is? What's atrophy? Anybody? It's a medical term. Atrophy, who's ever had a cast on an arm or a leg to immobilize it for the bone to heal or a ligament to be repaired? Who's ever had a cast? Okay, so when they take that cast off, this big booming muscle just boom fills the room because you've had a cast on because you haven't used your arms, like mega muscle. Is that right? What is it? Smaller. I had a cast literally on this right leg. I tore ligaments in a soccer tournament in senior year of high school. From here to my ankle, I could only pick my foot I could do this with. That's all I could do. And I got really good. I had kind of husky legs anyway, and so I was able to get my jeans on over this fiberglass cast, and I had to walk like this. I'd swing this leg out. That's how they called me peg leg for a long time. And so couldn't even put a sock on that foot. Okay, so I had these big legs, and I'll never forget the day Dr. Blackburn's office cut that cast off. Oh man, it had itched. Sweat would run down your leg into my shoe, so that shoe fell apart. I mean, it was just disintegrating. It was bad. But I couldn't wait to get that cast off. And before they let me leave the office, they took warm soapy water and they washed, and all this dead skin and stuff washed off. And I looked at my leg, and I had a normal leg on this side, and I had a witty bitty leg on this side. And I said, "What happened? You've ruined my leg. I'm going to be ostracized." It'll come back. It's just shrunk or contracted because of atrophy when you don't use it. Okay. It is the same way with our faith. We have weak, diminished faith because we have not exercised our faith. When we come to a fork in the road where it's a hardship, am I going to believe that God's going to provide and be faithful, or am I going to go out and work overtime and deny the existence of God and try to work it out myself? Faith. Faith cometh by hearing. By the way, it's when you begin to exercise, allow the Spirit of God to supersede what comes natural to you and do what is supernatural. Natural says, get even. But supernatural says, vengeance is mine, I will pay, saith the Lord. Naturally, the nice guys finish last, but the Spirit says, the meek shall inherit. It's supernatural. Faith is when we act in a supernatural way. It comes from above. It's the pneumos. It's the Spirit of God. Just as the air moves through a hose and causes a tool to operate, so does the pneumos of the Spirit of God flows through us and empowers us to do what He's called us to do. Some days it's that pneumos we need to forgive ourselves, but other days we need that pneumos to forgive others. Other days we need the pneumos to rise above temptation. Other times we need the pneumos to have faith to propel past where we don't have enough faith in ourselves to do. Does that make sense? The Spirit is what powers or empowers us to do the things God calls to. And so it takes faith. Faith without works is
dead.
Oh, I believe the Lord is coming. But you have laid on your spiritual bed for 50 years, waiting on the appearing of the Lord. When the trump of God sounds, what's going to happen to you? Faith without works is dead. To say you believe there's a God, but you don't do anything to meet the expectations of that God, you deceive yourself. If you think you're going with the Lord, you have lied to yourself. It's those who made themselves ready, the Bible says, for His glorious appearing, who have adorned themselves, put on the robes of righteousness. Well, I'm preaching, I'm sorry. That clock can't be right. No, that clock ain't right. Woo. was like, man, I'm talking slow today. Okay, so what's the opposite of meekness? What's being meek? Anybody meek? Kelsey, what's meek? What do you think? No wrong answer. What do you think of?
Me.
You?
Yeah.
Okay, you are meek. I agree with that. Yeah. So, since for people who don't know you, describe that for them.
Just kind of like to yourself.
Yeah. I like another word there, and it relates to you, is unassuming. Example, you know when people walk in, hey, you better look at me, you better wait on me. That is not Kelsey. She's very comfortable in her own skin, but she doesn't have to be up front. She don't have to have you brag on her. She is who she is. I love that about her.
What's the difference between that and humble?
Not a lot of difference, but humility, you'll either learn to be humble or humiliated. Get that? You'll either humble yourself or God will allow circumstances to come in to humble you. For pride is the opposite of humility, and what does it do? It leads to destruction.
Yeah.
You're heading for a fall. So you either learn how to be humble or you will be humiliated. Humility does connect here in the meek shall inherit the earth. That doesn't imply the meek don't have goals or ideas or agendas. It just means they don't supersede everybody else. You ever met that person that sucks all the oxygen out of the room as soon as they walk in? Why y'all looking at me? You're hurting my feelings. I'm feeling her live stream's jiggling right now. Okay. What are you saying, Pastor? That person who sucks all the oxygen out of the room, there was a very famous country music star. I'll call his name Larry Gatlin. And Larry Gatlin was very famous, very popular, and had several hit songs. And a friend of mine was sent with a video team to interview him for a TV special. And my friend said that guy, they showed up at his house, and Larry Gatlin went on for an hour all about, I did this, I've been there, I've done this, I've received this award, this is what I got for this. An hour nonstop talking about it. And he's got two brothers, it's the Gatlin brothers, but it was all about him as an individual. And all of a sudden, Larry Gatlin took a deep breath. Well, that's really enough about me. What do you think about me? Did he really change the subject?
No.
No. And he is the center of his own universe. Okay? That is the type of person I'm talking about sucking the oxygen. That is the antithesis. That is the opposite of meek. Meekness is those who don't push the agenda to be all about them. The Bible says that we should consider one another. The Bible actually says prefer your brother or your sister. In other words, put them ahead of yourself. I've said all that to say the meek shall inherit the earth. That means it's not all about us. Who knows what bridezilla is? A bride, it's a mashup of Godzilla and a bride. You know, these brides who want this perfect wedding and they're terrible to deal with because it's all about them. If we're not careful, we are the bride of Christ. We can become a bridezilla. We can become, it's all about us. You know, the music's too loud, the air's too cold, the seat's not soft enough, and you didn't call my name and thank me for what I did, and people get offended because it's about them. Is it really about you?
No.
Who's it really about?
God.
It's about God. And so that's why the meek shall inherit the earth, is because they put God first. When we become high maintenance Christians, we are setting ourselves up for failure. I look around this room and I see a room full of meek people. Every one of you have a great, good spirit. And I got to tell you, church-wide, over the years, have we had some high maintenance people? Yes. You'll find, if you're ever in my position, you'll have about 5% of your church that can eat up about 90% of your time, if you let them. You guys are so kind and considerate. I can't tell you, I get phone calls, Pastor, I know you're busy, and if you can, could you possibly, maybe, so kind, so meek, so humble. You don't feel like, you know, I owe you anything. I love it. You guys are awesome. But meekness is a fruit of the Spirit. If you see somebody who it's all about them, they may have been in church a long time, but they are not being led by the Spirit. Spirit. It's not the fruit of the Spirit that's causing that, okay? I'm trying to hurry because I know I'm running out of time. And then I love this one. Self-control.
Wow.
The word there is temperance in the King James. It means self-control. I do want you to think of these as layers. Anybody here ever gone to the fair or to an arcade?
Mm-hmm.
And they've got those hand squeezing things where you can demonstrate how strong your hand is, or you can take the hammer and ring the bell, and it's got markings. And the hand squeeze one, it says, the bottom one's like wimp. The next one is girl. Next one is strong girl. Next one is wimpy guy. And so they got in the top one, strong man. So we're I want to be a strong man. I do want you to think of these as plateaus or layers. What's the first fruit of the Spirit listed? Love.
Love.
It all starts with love. If you don't demonstrate godly love, it's going to affect every other fruit or aspect of the fruit that follows. I like to say it this way. Remember that apple, this is not fruits of the Spirit, it's fruit of the Spirit. That apple has a peel, it has a core, it has meat, it has juice, it has paraffin on the outside, it has seeds in the middle, it has a stem. All of those things are seminal for it to be a fruit, right? Yes. But I like to look at love as the category that this is an apple. If it's not an apple, all the other things will not be. Do oranges have a paraffin coated skin on them that you can eat? Anybody here like eating orange peels?
No.
I had a friend who was from Brazil, and he would eat peanuts, shell and all. Oh man, the shells are full of fiber. Go ahead with that. I'll get my jar of Skippy over here while you're eating peanuts. Come on, guys, this way. The apple, love, is the predicate, just like love is the apple. Love is the catalyst for everything that follows after. If you don't have love, you will never experience joy. If you don't have love, you'll never experience true peace.
That's true.
Love, joy, peace. If you don't have love, you won't be long suffering. I look back, how in the world was my mother able to get me to sit still, to learn to tie my shoe, to write my name, to teach me anything? Was the catalyst she was embarrassed that I was walking around with my shoes untied all the time? Maybe. But what was the real motivation why she would get me up in her lap? Do y'all remember? I'm sorry?
Love.
Love.
Yeah.
She will see me do well. Love, a mother's love. And do y'all remember, we used to buy milk in half gallons. Remember the cardboard carton, half gallons of milk?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know, my mother must have seen it in the newspaper or something. And she took a pair of scissors and cut that milk carton and cut it kind of like the flaps on a shoe with the tongue. And she got some red, I can still see, it was a white container with the red yarn. And she showed me how to lace it, and I sat with that big old half-gallon milk carton thing with the red yarn for hours till I learned. And you take the little bunny and you lift him up and you take him over there and you bring him to my ABCs. How in the world? See, love is the catalyst for all of it. Without love, you will never have joy. You will never have peace. You will never be long-suffering. You will never have gentleness. Love will cause you to love people that you don't like.
Right.
Yeah.
It will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then it'll give you faith, meekness. How does it give you faith? If you love the Lord, you want to believe what he's saying. When you got somebody you hate, I don't think they're telling the truth. Well, you base that on fact? No, you're basing on how you feel emotionally about them. But when you love the Lord, you have a tendency to wait on the Lord. And meekness. And then let's talk about self-control. Love. How does love affect self-control? Who loves yourself? The Bible tells us that we must love ourselves. What happens when you don't love yourself? You can call it self-loathing, an inferiority complex, self-worth issues. What happens to people that struggle with those things?
They don't love themselves, they can't love nobody else.
Can't love nobody else. How does it manifest, Sherry, when they don't love themselves?
All kind of way, they can be mean.
Mean,
Yeah, selfish,
selfish,
disrespectful.
mean to others.
Yeah,
Do they show discipline in their life?
no.
They'll eat things they know are harmful to them. They'll ingest things into their body they know are not beneficial. But man, what if you die? Well, what if I die? I don't deserve to be alive anyway. I'm nobody. I struggle with self-confidence, self-worth. That's a real thing, guys. I'm gonna preach about an aspect a little bit this morning for oneself. The reason I bring that up is I've got a dear friend that struggles in that area. He struggles in self-control, and self-control manifests itself in what we eat. Self-control can manifest itself in what we wear, where we go, who we build relationships with, how we handle our money. You gotta have self-control. Why is self-control important? Why is self-control important? Let's look at it this way. Who in here enjoys water sports? Who enjoys the water? I think the lakes and rivers are just so tranquil. We go to Gulf Shores. I care nothing about getting out swimming in the ocean, but I could sit there with my little umbrella and my chair and a stack of books and hear that that churning of. I smell the salt air. I just watch the sunset. It's very relaxed. I love the water. I go across any bridge and I'm leaning over trying to see the water. I love the water, which I'm the sign of Aquarius, but that doesn't matter. I love the water. Oh, I'm out of time. But if we go boating or rafting or skiing or fishing or swimming, a river is an awesome asset until it gets outside of its banks. What happens when a river gets outside the river banks? What happens?
Flood.
Flood. Destruction. It contaminates the drinking water. It affects gas and electrical lines. It destroys houses. Snakes and even fishies get out of their natural habitat. And when the water recedes, you'll have a snake in your house or you'll have a fish in your front yard. It's good when it's inside of its banks, but when it gets outside its boundaries. Self-control are boundaries that allow things in life to be beneficial. Is food good and necessary? Absolutely. If food has no self-control or boundaries, is it still good? Is money a good thing?
Yeah.
You need money, don't
Yes.
you? But the love of money, when it gets outside of its boundaries. Are friends and relationships good? Yeah, but when they get outside their boundaries. Marriage, is it good? But when it gets in a place that's outside of its boundaries, and on and on. The fruit of the Spirit is self-control. Can I make you do anything?
No.
Now, in my 20s and 30s, I thought I could. I thought if I just preach the right message, if I just wear the right clothes, if I just say it the right way, if I just do, maybe the people gonna do what people gonna do, okay? It's not based on me. But I will tell you this. My dad said it this way. As my father, he said, you're 18 years old. I can't make you